How's it going, everyone? We're here again this week with another amazing guest, and we're going to talk all about matchmaking. Again, this is part of our matchmaking series. Welcome you all to Love, Laughs, and Lessons. And I'm Dr. Frankie Bashan, the CEO of Little Gay Book Matchmaking and Little Black Book Matchmaking. I've been a matchmaker pretty much my whole life, and we are about to celebrate 15 years at Little Gay Book, which is so exciting. And I'm also a psychologist and a board certified sex therapist. And I do a lot of dating and relationship coaching aside from matchmaking. And we've recently relaunched our podcast. And I have an amazing co-host. I did it alone for a few years, and that wasn't quite as fun as what we're doing now. And she's awesome. She's also a coach, also a matchmaker with tons of knowledge and wisdom to impart. And I'd love for her to introduce herself. So I'm going to hand it right over. Go for it.
Yeah. Hi, I am Denise Ray, and relationship coach and matchmaker and client service director at Little Gay Book, and co-hosting with Dr. Frankie on this phenomenal journey through this podcast. And I am so pleased today to welcome Daphney Poyser. She's the founder and CEO of Fern Connections, an LGBTQIA plus matchmaking and coaching company. You know, Daphney, like my shero, after noticing a lack of diversity within the world of same-sex specific dating services, Daphney sought out to create her own company, and it's founded on the principles of greater gender, sexual, and romantic inclusivity. Inclusivity. I love that word.
Yeah.
Fern Connections was started in 2020, and now she's blown up. She's got headquarters in Texas and in Georgia. The company services individuals nationwide within the US. So Daphne, we want to hear all about your journey, because I know that you started in corporate America. So how did you get from there to where you are now? What inspired you?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, let me just say this. Thank you for inviting me. I love this. I can't wait to talk more. But I want to say I was transitioning, right? This is a story, right? So for those who don't know me, I'm a widow. I lost my late husband in 2019. And so my life was transitioning. And so I decided to let me transition it myself, right? So that's when I decided to leave corporate America in 2020. And, one day, this is, and I hate to say this, but this is a real story, because that was right around the pandemic, right? And Paul Brunson was on, I think it's LinkedIn, doing these lockdown sessions. And one day I heard about these modern matchmakers. There were a few people on, and I was like, wow, I think I could do that. I think I want to do that, right? So I reached out to him and I said, I'm interested. Tell me what I can do. What do you think? And he said, well, have you gone to the Matchmaking Institute? I said, no, I didn't know there was a Matchmaking Institute. And so he said, you should go to the Matchmaking Institute, go talk to them. And then that's kind of how I got started. And I launched my business in 2020 while I was going through the Matchmaking Institute. And, I took a lot of the stuff that I gained in corporate America, right? And leverage that to start my business, right? I used to have this wonderful boss. I want to call him a boss because he wasn't a manager, because we know the difference. But he was a boss, and he was always saying, run your operation as your business, like a small business. And so I learned so much from corporate America. And so I thought, why not, leverage that to start my own business? I've been doing it for somebody else for so long. I may as well do it for myself. So that's my story.
So you specialize in LGBTQ clients. Tell us a little bit about that.
Allies.
Allies.
Yes, yeah. I love allies because I'm an ally. So let me tell you about that, okay? My daughter, I love her so much. She's pansexual. And she came out when she was about 15, and she was, wasn't sure, who I am, what I'm doing, all the things, right? And so, when I decided to do this, we were doing a POC, a proof of concept, right? And, we thought, okay, I could do Black women, I could do women over a certain age, I could do whatever, right? Interracial couples, right? All the things. And then my daughter said, what are you thinking about? You've always been part of the community. So to me, it's really a no-brainer. So I'm giving her all the credit because it really was her who said, Mom, really, are you going to do anything other than what you would do anyways, right?
What's
Here.
pansexual, just for our listeners? What is that? Because I think people have different ideas about it.
Yeah, and people do have different ideas about pansexuals. I hear people say, I will date anyone unless anyone without a penis, right? And some people will date people with penises, and some people will date people who are, non-binary, trans, bi, whatever that is, right? They're very open to date the person based on the human being, not necessarily their sexual orientation. And their gender, so to speak, right? And so that's what, I identify as pansexual based on that definition.
So it's about the person. It's not about their gender, their orientation, just like, that's like me. I describe myself as queer. I love people. I'm attracted to all different types of people. So,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you specialize in certain parts of the country?
I work with people all across the country, some people in Canada, some people in the UK, and I don't really. So I have tons, and it's a weird thing, right? It's like, I don't know if it's a demographic or the region. I have tons of gay men in California, right? I have tons of like lesbian women on the East Coast and spread across the country. A lot of people, both in the South, who identify as queer, right? Or open, and they don't really care, who the person is, right? And then I have a lot of people who just consider themselves, I like both men and women, but I don't want to call myself bisexual or pansexual or any of that, right? And so to answer your question, I have people all across the country, but it's an interesting dynamic that the kinds of people that I have in different areas, like on the West Coast versus the East Coast versus the South, because I'm actually in Dallas, right? And in Dallas, there's this huge queer population like nobody's business. So it's like everybody's here.
You're matching people all over the country with each other, like coordinating Zoom dates or FaceTime dates, that kind of thing?
We do Zoom, we do in person, we do as many in person as possible. And I really try to keep it local as much as I can, unless someone says to me, I want a larger, a broader search, right? I had someone tell me that the other day, because we're just not finding a lot of people in their location just because of where they are. But no, I try to do as much in person as possible. I think it's very important. Not everybody's built for long distance, and I get that. So I don't necessarily push it, but I think it gives you an option to meet more people, right? To open yourself up more.
Yeah, most definitely. We talk about a lot, how after the pandemic, the walls came down and people were willing to stretch themselves a little bit more for love. So we definitely understand the fact that people want to be local. And I'm not about the long distance relationship. I like a long distance with a means to an end. So not a forever long distance, but as long as someone eventually can relocate. And that's what I'm hearing that you're saying as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you this, because I am about the long distance, and it's crazy, but I kind of like it because I'm so busy that, when I'm in the same place with someone, I feel guilty. I feel like, okay, I can't work all the hours I need to work, right? I can't do all the stuff that I need to do. So for me, long distance works. And you're right. Yes. I always tell people there has to be a short-term plan and a long-term plan. One of the things that I love, and it's kind of a, I don't know, it's one of those things to where I bring all my technology background with me. So if you hear me talk corporate speak and matchmaking, that's what I do, right? It's kind of like I'm bringing that whole corporate background, my technology background. And I use that, to get the message across to people who are, like me, like professionals who came out of that kind of background, that kind of scenario, and they get it, right? When I say proof of concept, the techies know what that means, right? It's
right.
I don't think after so many years of being in technology that I'm going to change. So I just decided to bring it all with me and make it work. So that's what I do.
Well, it sounds like it's working out well for you because it's been a good number of years. When did you start your business?
In 2020, in early 2020. And, I have to say that I don't want to come across as like arrogant or anything, but we always say we're so fortunate and we're so blessed. But I work my ass off too, right? It's not just about
Absolutely.
the fact that I'm blessed and fortunate and I'm all of those things, but I
Mhm.
also work my ass off, and just talking about dating, you know, finding the right person, right, who gets you, right, and understands you and understands and supports the fact that like I'm a business person. I mean, I'm like working all the time, right? Even when most people are sleeping, I'm probably working. And so to have a person or a partner who understands that is so important. And that's one of the reasons why I love matchmaking so much.
Yeah.
But I have to say I like coaching even better, right?
I got
Because
a
Now,
question for
why?
you
Yeah.
about, and it's what do you look for when you make your matches? What are the most important aspects or things you consider when you bring people
I tell everybody like my business is based on internal qualities, right? And I'm not saying I don't, because I have some of the most attractive people across the country, but I
Mhm.
don't focus on that first. I focus on people's hearts. I focus on, their kindness, their caring, their support, their supportive nature, those kind of things. Because I just believe that if you get those people first, and if they're attractive, honey, you better watch out. It's like you can do all sorts of things with people who look good and who are also kind and decent and loving and caring, right? And
so
so
kind, loving, caring, good
every
humans?
yes, good humans. That's what I call them because that's exactly what I look for.
What about your
Yeah.
clients? Are you looking for the same qualities and characteristics in them too?
Yes, everybody's the same. Everybody is the same. Everybody who comes to me, I mean, if you're not like if you're not like a good person, right? Let's just start there. Then
Mhm.
I'm not interested because I mean, I can, I don't care how good you look, right? And we all, have our ups and downs and our times when we feel better or look better or think we do, right? But to me, having someone who will treat you good, right? Who treats you well and understands who you are and appreciates you and accepts you and supports you for who you are as a human being, not as like this beautiful, I'm using myself as an example, this beautiful woman, right? On the outside. It's like, look, the hair, the makeup, all the things, right? I don't wake up like this, right? And so, I want someone to love me for who I am on the inside, right? The person
Mhm.
who's at home, cooking with my partner, the one who's cleaning and doing laundry on Mondays. That's what I want. And that's what I want for my clients.
Yeah.
Is that what your
So,
clients want? Is that what
Yeah.
they're asking for?
They,
No. So what are they asking for?
yes, that's what they want. They want people that are kind and thoughtful and loving and caring, who can, be there on the day to day. They're not looking for the superficial. They don't care how much money they have. And some of them have a
Mhm.
lot of it, but they don't care, right? They're looking for someone who is real, and who could
Yeah.
be real with them.
Yeah. So it sounds like you attract your tribe. And it sounds like you're selective with who you work with, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How many times do you not work with someone? Like
You know,
maybe percentage wise. Yeah.
it's a good question because let me say this. I think it's more the opposite. When people
Okay.
find out what I'm looking for, and what kind of clients I'm interested in, they
Mhm.
choose not to work with me, which makes it easier. And I'm happy about that because I'm not,
Yeah.
I can curse, right? So I
Right.
like to, yeah.
We'll have to edit, I think, edit it out if you do. But
I'm not looking for jerks, right? So, I really want to have really good people because I can match good people any day and every day.
Absolutely.
And it makes my job so much easier to do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff.
so do you show photos?
Oh yes. Yes. I mean, look, I used a matchmaker, or let me back up a little bit. I tried using a matchmaker myself. And so yes, and I want to show people photos. Every now and again we do blind dates because I like that. I think it's fun, but I get
Mhm.
consent to do that. And that's the only time I do it. Other than that, I'm always showing photos to everyone. I think
Mhm.
it's important. I've gotten some from my past matchmaker, some people that I would never go on a date with, right? You don't need to send me that photo, honey. It's okay, because I'm never going to go on a date with them, right? So, so I would never do that to people.
So we actually don't show photos, and people
Yeah.
are so, at first they're kind of surprised because we're living in a culture that is so, into swiping. That's what they got. Most people are, right? They're doing dating apps and they're
That's
basing
right.
their decision on photos. Sometimes they don't even read the narrative. They're just swiping based on the pictures. So I have found it to be really helpful because we're matchmaking, right? And we're considering the person, their energy, their vibe, all the variables in terms of compatibility. So we'll never set somebody up with somebody that they would be like, who, what? I would never date that person, right? So I just think it just suspends that superficial or like surfacey stuff and allows us to kind of do our job without that interference. But many matchmakers show photos, and I know that makes some people feel really comfortable that's their preference. They want photos.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, are you going to say something, Denise?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you ever get any pushback from even the photos? Has anyone ever just said, like, looking at the photo and they're like, no, don't want to do it? And how do you handle that?
I'm okay with that because sometimes I really am okay with that because I one of the things I'm big about, right? I don't really think that there's like this instant chemistry all the time that people want to believe in, right? It's like, ooh, that person is the one for me. No, girl, that's not the person for you. I can tell you, but it's okay because you're going to find your person. The thing that I like about it is, say, for instance, and it makes me laugh sometimes. I had a person say, they don't dress well enough for me, right? And I thought, okay, because I'm not gonna lie, I like my person to look good when we go out, and and I'm okay with that. So when someone says to me, I don't care how they dress, or I don't like their orange hair or their pink hair, whatever, I'm okay with those things because I know that's my real life, right? I mean, and I do believe that there's more than just how someone looks. I really do believe that. I mean, I've dated very attractive people, right? And I've, been involved with very attractive people. And those people, even when I thought they had great qualities on the inside, end up being, jerks, right? I'll just call them that. And for now, but it's like, no, I'm okay with that. I really am. Now, the thing that I'm not okay with, and I'm okay with saying this too, is when someone looks at me and says, oh, that person is not attractive enough for me, da 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 da. I'm like, really? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff. It's like you're gonna have to, tell me why this person is not attractive to you. Because, not everyone that we see is going to be our person, right? Or we're going to be interested in. So I'm okay with it, but tell me why. And it can't be because, oh, this person is not pretty enough, or this person is not like whatever. That to me, that kind of superficial attitude, I'm not into, right? And that's not what I'm selling to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just going back to something you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, which is this idea that people are sort of judging based on the photos. And if somebody appears to have a certain fashion or taste that's different than what they're used to, they might reject just based on that. But I feel like you can work with somebody in terms of their fashion. It's harder to find a good quality person that's kind, that's caring, that's loving. That's not changeable and fixable. That's pretty permanent, right? But like fashion, I don't know. A lot of people don't have a good sense of fashion, but if they're dating somebody they're excited about, they're willing, right? They're willing to get that feedback and they want to be sexy for you. So
I think it's a generational thing. I think that, for people like me who are a little bit older, my person is like, okay, if you want to tell me what to wear, if you want to pick out my things, they're okay with that, right? But some people are not. And I think it's more generational in the sense that the younger we get, right, with people, the more like, I don't want to say picky they are, but I think it's a little bit picky. There's this pickiness that happens where it's like, that's not important. That's for me, it's like, I'm used to like pointing out stuff for my person and saying, look, I think you should, wear this, or I don't say, you should do this, right? Because I don't believe in changing people, but I do make suggestions, right? And I'm okay with receiving suggestions as well, right? And I think that's okay to your point. Is like, yeah, that's not important. That's
Yeah. What's the age range of your clients?
there, it's kind of funny. Most of them are between 30 and 50, right? And then there's some outliers on each side. One of the things that we're finding now is that we're getting more older people, which is different. Yes, they're like over 50. So we're tipping like in between 60 and 70 with people, excuse me, that we weren't before. Right now, one of the things that I'm not really sold on yet is I'm not really sold on people who are 25 and under, right? And it has nothing to do with them. I just, the people that I'm working with are professionals, they're, successful, they're, established. And so I want to find them, something similar or compatible in that way, right? Or someone.
I always say, like, you're in your 20s, you don't need a matchmaker. If the dating apps are working for anybody, it's working for people in their 20s. Go be swiping and work harder to swipe right.
Let me tell you, my daughter will argue with you on that one. She's 25 and she'll say, no, they do not work, even for 25-year-olds. So,
that's so sad.
Are they your daughter? Are they an old soul? Is that the reason?
Yes, my daughter is an old soul. She is like a 40-year-old and a 25-year-old and swiping does not work for her. So no.
So do you help her as a matchmaker, Mom? No.
No.
You got really serious about that.
That like, is no. Absolutely no way in heck would she let me help her find a match.
Have you tried?
I asked, a couple of times. She said, no, look, I love you, but there's a boundary that we have to draw here. So, no, I didn't stop. So
do you coordinate? Oh, go for it, Denise.
No, go ahead. I'll go right after.
Okay. Do you coordinate the dates or do you give them the contact information and send them out there to do that on their own?
We actually have a date specialist who does all that. So do I coordinate the dates? Not really, but she does. She's really, really good at that. And she does ask them, what are you interested in? Where are you located? And so that she can like give them the best results as, as possible. So yeah, she's really great at choosing dates and really great at, even virtual dates. I mean, she does a really good job, right? And I'm glad that she's the one doing it and not me. Now, I do a great job of choosing my own dates. That's what I do. And that's about it. So, no, she's really good at it.
So earlier you had mentioned how much you love coaching, right? And so, yeah, you said you like matchmaking, but you love the coaching. So kind of do like a compare and contrast for us. What do you love so much about each of those and why?
I was married for a very long time, good or bad, right? And 32 years, I was with someone for 35. And you learn a lot of stuff about like what works and what doesn't work, right? And for me, I not only want to be able to put people in a match with someone, I want to be able to help them stay there and build, right? Because it's not always the hardest thing to find people. I always say the hardest thing is to want to keep people in your life, right? So that's where the coaching comes in. So to me, that is the most important part, is that if I can, I can find people all day, right? But, at some point in time, and we all know this, we're going to mess up. We're going to do something, dumb, stupid, whatever, right? And we're going to mess up and we're going to run. We're going to say something we shouldn't say. We're going to have an attitude about something that's not necessary, whatever that is, right? At some point in time. And I find that happens, right around 3 to 4 weeks in the relationship, right? And then it happens again, like another, 60 days or whatever. And so for me, that's where the coaching happens, right? That's why it's so important, is to be able to say to someone, let's rethink this, right? Because we all have like these ideas of what relationships should be like. We all have this experience, right? From, working with people and talking to people and studies and all the things, right? But in reality, we all know that until it happens to us, right? It's a whole nother ball game. It's, you know, it's hypothetical, it's theoretical, but when it really happens to you, that's when you really want to have a good solution for that. And that's why I love coaching, is because it's easier to match people. It's so much harder to keep them in a relationship. So,
Do you
or
find that your clients are so receptive to that? Because I'm on the same page as you. I believe that none of us have learned how to date or to be in a relationship. So do you find that your clients are receptive to the idea of coaching? And
they
do they
are.
get that it will, I'm sorry, do they get that event, you know, in the long run, it's going to help them be a better partner and, you know, create a better relationship?
They do. And I think the reason why is because for those folks, typically, you know, they're like 35 to 50. They've been in some serious relationships before. They kind of know what didn't work last time and what, you know, what did work. And so, you know, and everybody's different. So when you come into contact with a new person, you know, a lot of times we want to revert back to the things we did before, right? The person we were before, and that doesn't always work. So that's why I think they're more open to it, is because they know that, you know, maybe I could have done this differently before, right? Or maybe this could have worked out differently if I would have had some coaching, right? So I think it's really important. And I think that's why they're into it, because they're a little bit more mature, and they understand that we can't always like know what things to do, right? And to me, the worst thing that you can do is, for me, in my opinion, and I've done this too before in my own personal life, is you know, not seek the help that you need, right? It's so important to be able to talk to somebody about, you know, what do you think? You know, this is what's happening, and I'm not sure how to respond, how to react, right? And one of the things that I talk about in one of my YouTube videos is that I have this 30-day rule, right? And I also have this, what I call 7-day rule, and this 24-hour rule. And I live by this stuff, right? That says, okay, if I get upset, and I was upset because someone stole my package off my door when I was gone. And I was like so upset when I came home yesterday. Because I could see, I'm digressing, but I could see my package. So instead of like throwing a tantrum, I said, you know what, I'm just going to like sleep on this, and tomorrow I'll feel better. And that's my 7-day rule, my 24-hour rule. And then when it's a bigger thing, I do 7 days, right? You know, if I'm going to buy a house or a car or something, or, you know, try to strangle someone, I'm just kidding.
Good boundaries. Have
Yes.
some good boundaries set.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Allow time for clarity.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the thing. So it's like, I teach that to my clients, and I live that every day for myself. So
I think sometimes it's hard for people to know what they need. Some people are not so good about self-reflection or introspection. And as matchmakers, we can help them, you know, illuminate these behaviors that get in the way, which is such a gift to our clients. Because there's, you know, with a dating app, you're not able to see why you're getting ghosted repeatedly, or why you can't get from date 1 to date 2. And you know, most of us, I'm guessing you do too, you have a process in place for feedback, so you can share with your clients how they're being perceived on their dates.
exactly. Yeah. And the other thing that I do is I have this process that I teach to my clients for when they want to use dating apps, right? It's like, I met my person on a dating app. I believe that it can be effective, right? But you have to know, you know, the signs to watch out for. You have to know, you know, there has to be some type of methodology that you follow, right? To help you to be able to find good people on dating apps. And I've done that several times with my clients. And like I said, I've done that for myself. And I think that's really what's important, because I don't want to just say all dating apps are bad, right? I think that, you know, because I know for sure that I've, you know, coached some people, you know, firsthand, and they've found their person, right? Or their people. And to me, that is a really important thing in today's dynamics of, you know, where we are with all the apps, right? Versus what we do as matchmakers, right? Or coaches. It's like there's a whole bunch of that, and there's some of us, right? And so to me, in order for, you know, my clients to have a better way of meeting people, right? Or more options, I coach them on using dating apps.
Or just more practice, right? Because dating is practice.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
What's
What were
a
you gonna say?
recommendation or two
Yeah.
that you can give
For
to
dating
listeners
apps,
if they're using, because most people are using dating apps.
let me tell you the ones that I love. Okay, so I love him, right? I'm serious, I do. I mean, I have this love-hate relationship with dating apps, right? I love Hinge. I love it for the technology, right? All the different preferences. I somewhat like Bumble, but you know, I'm somewhat over it. And then I like Match for people who are a little bit older and looking for someone who is a little bit older and mature and established, right? I try to stay away from the more trendy apps, right? And I call them trendy. Some of them have been around for a little bit, some of them just got here, but there's so many apps out there, right? That I think that it's very confusing for people what to use, you know, and I know there's apps just for lesbians, there's apps for, you know, men or women or whatever, there's heteros, you know, whatever that is. There's all of these apps, right? And it's so confusing for people. But
What's the trendy apps? Which ones are you referring to?
um it's not fair. It's not fair for me to say this. Something like, you know, coffee and meets bagel or something like that, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad app. I'm just saying there's so many out there. And what I'm seeing also is that, you know, people are creating these friendship apps, right? And these friendship apps that you can use for dating, you know, like the events and adventures. It's like, you know, like, you know,
Right.
people who, you know, do the things that you do, you know, and be friends. And then maybe, just maybe you'll meet somebody long term, right? So there's this underlying, you know, thought process that, you know, you're starting as friends, which I think is wonderful. But at the same time, it's like, to me, it's still confusing for people. You know, what is the purpose of this app,
Yeah,
right?
like set your intention.
Right.
Right.
I think it's easier for people who are non-committal to say, oh yeah, I'm just going to put myself out there as a friend and just see and play the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other confusing part is too many apps, right? There's no need in using so many apps. One or two is good, right? I mean, because typically if you're looking locally, you're going to find, you know, people, the same people more than likely over and over and over saying the same things, and there's no need, right? Now, and I will get like backlash about this, and I'm okay with it. I tell people never to use Talkify. That's my one app that I really tell everyone, don't even go there, don't try it, don't think about it, don't.
Why
You
is
know.
that? I didn't realize they have an app anyway. I thought they were a dating.
Well, it's
company,
to me, it's kind of like an app. I mean, it's a service, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, say they're matchmaking. I met with them a couple of years ago, right? And and I've had clients who used them too, right? Some of them were able to get their money back, some of them weren't, right? Especially when we're talking about people in the queer community. The reason why I say you don't use them, because this is just my take on it, and I'm a little bit different when it comes to matchmaking, is that to me, if all someone is doing is trying to sell you something, you know, then that's not your partner when it comes to finding love. Because, you know, if I wanted to go buy a car, I would use a salesperson. If I'm looking for love, I'm not looking for a salesperson. And that's one of the reasons why I don't care for them, because all that is that you need to pay this, you need to pay this, you need to pay this. And that's all I've ever heard from people who've gone to them. And that concerns me.
So my understanding about them is that it's kind of unfair that they use the word matchmaking, or that they're matchmakers, because they're really a dating concierge, meaning that they use one or two variables. Like if that person lives in your location and they identify as queer, then they'll send you on a date together. Maybe they look at age, you know, maybe a 10-year span. And then you're sitting across from somebody who, say you're a femme and you're interested only in another femme, and you're sitting across from a butch, and so they're not looking at the variables that they need to be considering. There's just not, they don't look at enough of them for compatibility.
And I think that happens too within this community. I don't want to say that, you know, just because we're matchmaking in the queer space, right, that we get it right every time. I think that sometimes, you know, people do the same things. They're like, oh, just because you're a lesbian, you know, like not all lesbians are the same, honey. They're like different, right? Like people like different things.
Right.
And sometimes people think that just because I'm a lesbian and you're a lesbian, we're good, right? But it doesn't work that way. And the same thing for gay men. That's not how it works. So
It's
just
nuanced.
yeah,
Way more nuanced.
exactly. And when you're not really, you know, well informed about the community, right? That's what happens, right? And that's one of the reasons why I always show pictures, because of the fact that, you know, I've had some experiences where someone I say I'm looking for someone who's femme, right? My femme, people think is like this, right? But my femme is not like this. My femme is like more tomboyish. Like if you're asking me what I like,
Chapstick.
right? Yeah.
Chapstick.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's not lipstick. It's like, and so, but when people see that's why I show photos, because, you know, to me, when people see me, they say, oh, you're so femme. I'm like, I'm really not. You know, like I said, I didn't wake up this way. So in reality, I'm this girl who's like very tomboyish, right? And who's like, you know, very independent. You know, I'm like fixing the washer and dryer on the weekends, right? And so that's not what some people think of as femme. And I'm not that either, but that's what people see on the outside, right? And so it's like it takes more than just a photo or like a thought that I'm femme, you're femme, or I'm lesbian, you're lesbian.
People will ask me, how is matchmaking, you know, LGBTQ, lesbian, bisexual matchmaking any different than a heterosexual matchmaker? And one of the main things is this nuanced situation we're describing. Because heterosexuals are not, you know, you have a male client, he's just like, I want to meet a sexy, beautiful woman.
Well, and
they're not
talking about other things like race and whatever, then that's when it gets a little twisted, right? But for the most part, it's like a straight man and a straight woman, right? And you know, how difficult is that, right? Versus, you know, what we do in the queer community is like there's all these different aspects of queerness that people don't even think about most of the time. And that's what I love about what I do, is to be able to work with people. You know, I said this to someone in a meeting one day, is like, just because someone's trans, you know, trans means a lot of things, right? It's not like, oh, they're trans, so they like a man or a woman or whatever that means, or, you know, it doesn't work that way. I have clients who are trans masculine, who like trans masculine. I have women who are, you know, trans women who prefer who identify as bisexual or pansexual, and they like everybody, right? And so it's not just like as simple as people want it to be.
No, and it's hard for people to wrap their brains around it. It's confusing, you know. Like, wait a minute, so that's a trans woman that identifies as a lesbian? That's the latest thing I've gotten.
And it's like, true. Yeah, it's true.
It's true. Not black and white. And stop trying to bucket people.
And I've matched both now, right? Because I've matched in the hetero world for many, many years. And so, you know, I see the big differences in how we really have to look at who our client is and how important it is for the understanding. I think we do more work, we have more understanding to make sure that we're not missing all the things that are needed to help them, you know, create this relationship that they're looking for. I love it. I like, you look at people totally different.
You know what I love about it, and I tell my partner all the time, is that because he is a white man from Iowa, right? And I'm a Black woman from Texas. And, you know, and the thing about it is that, you know, we're very accepting of each other, right? It's like, and that's what I love about what I do. You know, the thing that gets me up every day is that I get to work with people, and all I'm doing is finding them people who will love them for who they are and who will accept them for who they are. And I get to be the one who says, look, you don't have to worry about asking these tough questions, because I'm going to ask them for you. I'm going to make sure that they're interested in someone who's, you know, trans femme, right? Or whatever that is. And so my clients don't have to have that burden anymore. They don't have to worry about telling a story on and what day or date do you tell that story, right? They don't have to worry about that anymore, because I'm doing it for them. Or if they're HIV positive and undetectable, you know, I tell the story for them so they don't have to worry about, you know, when this person finds out that I, you know, have HIV, even if I'm undetectable, they may not want to date me. Well, they already know, so you don't have to worry
You
about
don't have to worry.
that. And
That's right.
that's
You do
what I
all the
love
heavy
about it.
lifting.
Yeah,
Do
that's
they,
the only
do they
thing I love
sometimes
about my work.
ask you not to share? Like earlier today, I did a consultation with a client who had a double mastectomy, and I might be introducing her to one of my clients. And I felt like, you know what, that's something that we don't have to lead with that. Like that, you can share that on your own in time. But this is, you know, is this different to their clients?
Yeah,
Say,
and my
don't
clients
share.
are really, they really want me to be able to share these stories for them, right? And I had a client who was a cancer survivor, and you know, she's like, I would prefer that you lead with that, and it'll make my life easier, right? So I am the person who, you know, takes on that burden for them, and I'm okay with that, you know, because you know, as a Black woman who, like, when I became single again, I was 55. I mean, I'm 59, right? And so that's a huge, you know, shift from being with someone for 30 something years, and then all of a sudden you're in your mid 50s and you're single. And here I am in Texas, and you know, and a certain, you know, social economic background with, you know, like all I heard from matchmakers in Texas was, look, the only men who are going to date you are white men, and they don't want to date you because of the work that you do. Because, you know, we're in a conservative, you know, state. And if they don't want to date you because you're Black or because of the work that you do, then they won't date you because they like younger women. That's all I heard.
Wow.
So I was like, who in the world should I work with, as you know, from a matchmaking standpoint, if that's what you believe, right? And so I'm like, wow. So yeah.
Our job is tough, but it's so rewarding.
Yes. That's true.
Definitely making all these people, you know, helping them create a pathway to happiness. And like you said earlier today, giving them the tools to be successful, not just to, you know, find that person that they have chemistry with or compatibility with, but to be able to do the work, because there's going to be work no matter what. No one's escaping that work when you're in relationship. It's going to come up. So, and the three of us, you know, we coach, and we know, you know, it's hard, but also it can be rewarding if you're, you know, again, have the necessary ingredients of kindness, show up with love and good intention. So how can folks find you? Tell us how they can get in contact, and if there's a free database and so on.
You know, they can find me pretty much anywhere, you know, by just searching Fern Connections. We hang out on Instagram. That's where we play. I love it, right? We started this YouTube show called Dating with Daphne in December, and we're building on that. You know, I love the topics, you know, I'm very happy. And I must say that I got an award earlier this year from Brains Magazine because of my relationship coaching, right? And one of the things is because of the videos that I do, right? And
congratulations.
Which is really cool, you know, because we just started this and we don't even have tons of subscribers. So anyone who wants to subscribe, please do. But New York Times found me because of one of my videos, right? And I just love you know, how social media, you know, works in a way to where I wouldn't have never been able to do this, you know, 10 years ago, right? And so, and it's not like I'm doing it for those reasons. I'm doing it because I want to help people, right, as much as I possibly can. But it is giving us, you know, the exposure that we need. So I would say, you know, anything Fern Connections. I typically don't use my name other than that podcast. I mean, not podcast, but that YouTube series that we do, which is called Dating with Daphne.
So, okay, and they can find you on Instagram,
Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you know, I don't know. Is there anything else? I don't know.
YouTube, the YouTube.
Probably YouTube, yes, under Dating with Daphne. And I think we even have some stuff out on TikTok. I don't know. I have this lovely social media team who does all this stuff. So they only let me play a little bit. It's like, you can only do so much. We'll do the rest for you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, Daphne, thank you for joining us and sharing
the joy.
all about your business and how you do what you do. And I think there's, for listeners, there's definitely nuggets of information that they can take away and think about. Yeah, so we appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
I have enjoyed it. It's nice like hanging out with you guys, and I love the smiles. That's the biggest thing I tell people. Smile, just
Yes.
smile. Beautiful.
So important. Actually, real quick before we end, Denise ran an event in Brooklyn last night for 20 women, and there was one woman there. It's a speed dating event using our software and so on. One woman was there just not smiling, looking miserable. And she, what did you do? Yeah, just say it.
I just like walked up to, I was like, are you trying to date? And she was like, what? I was like, where's the, like, she was like prune face, like all the way. Like, how do you're not approachable, And yeah, we laughed about it after I called her out. And then the rest of the evening, like,
That's because of your gift of giving constructive criticism. Right. She didn't get defensive or anything.
No.
And this is it. It's like we go not out of our way, but because we care so much, we want to help people make it happen. So I just love that.
Can I say one last thing? I think you're making a very good point, because matchmaking is not for everyone. It is a skill. It is, I believe that you have to have a certain characteristic, personality, and it really takes skill to do what we do, right? To have like the diplomacy and the tact and all the things, right? To have people see, the hopefulness in finding their person and finding love. But it's hard work. It's not like just like we do this and it's just magical. It really is a lot of like talent that you have to have. And I love, because I'm an intuitive, that helps me a lot in what I do. And I think, people need to know that this is like work. It's a skill, and not everybody's built to do this, really.
That's right.
And clients need to be willing to do the work. We can only do so much as matchmakers, even if we're gifted and we got a skill set and all that.
That's right.
Smile, be positive, believe in us, trust us, all of that.
Yeah.
Well, Daphne, such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you so much. Congratulations again on, all the good things coming your way and more to come, I'm sure. Yeah.
And thank you to all our listeners. We will be back on next week with another matchmaker, and stay tuned for more interesting podcasts. Take care, everyone. Big hugs, big kisses.
Bye for now.